pretty high-tier package. And then this is the Pro Max, which has all the same stuff inside. So the weird thing about this phone is it looks almost intentionally like a knockoff iPhone, right? With the naming and the design, and to be fair, even the user interface, like the home screen's got Apple-style icons. You pull down from here, you've got Apple's control center. I'm pretty sure I've even seen some iOS 26 liquid glass inside of here. I give them a year before they tell us their CEO is now also called Tim. But the thing is, it doesn't feel like a knockoff. The display is bright and super high-end. The borders around it are every bit as thin and even as other top phones. Every time you press things and click buttons, the haptics are phenomenal. Very satisfying experience to type and navigate. Or, let's just try something for a second. This Pro over here is a pretty tiny phone, right? It's got triple cameras on the back, it's got not one but two displays. How big of a battery do you think they've managed to fit into here? 6,300 milliamp hours. That's a 25% bigger battery than the iPhone 17 Pro Max and even the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. And so the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, 7,500, 50% bigger than those other phones. And it translates. It is giving me stupid levels of endurance. I feel like I'm a kid again, and I go into the candy store and my mum hands me $50 to spend. You could buy everything. And because it's achieved using a silicon carbon battery with the highest concentration of silicon so far, it's not made the phone any thicker or heavier. In fact, when you pick it up, the first thing you notice is that it's actually lighter than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Okay, fine, but they have had to compromise on the performance to get to this. Psych. These phones have 16 gigs of the fastest RAM I've ever seen on a phone. They've got the fastest storage, and they're basically the first phones to have the new Snapdragon Elite Gen 5, which is the chip that will power most Android flagships next year. I tried a whole load of tests and benchmarks on it, and while I wouldn't call it a transformational leap, it is firmly ahead of this year's crop of Androids like Samsung's S25 Ultra. It can get quite hot on the sides, but not once have I noticed that actually affecting sustained performance. So at least it is effectively getting heat away from the chip. So it's pretty clear. The phone's fundamentals are crazy good, but that's what makes this magic back screen all the more interesting. Because clearly, Xiaomi didn't need to do this. The Xiaomi 17 Pro and Pro Max are not one-off gimmick phones. They're not part of a sub-brand. They're not niche concept devices that are only going to be released as a test. These are Xiaomi's mainline 2025-2026 flagship phones that they will most likely release in all their regions, which makes them like the one launch that they wouldn't want to be adding a potentially expensive to produce, potentially gimmicky toy to. And so the fact that they've decided to go for something so unconventional makes me think one of two things. That Xiaomi are either A, using this as a very expensive piece of marketing, something to get people talking and go viral on TikTok, because they know that once someone considers their phone, they will become impressed by all the other things that it does. Or B, that they are actually confident that the second screen is the future of the smartphone and that it's going to stick around for good. So, which is it? Well, let's be very clear about one thing right off the bat. We have seen rear screens before. We've never seen them like this, because this rear screen has the exact same display characteristics as the front screen. It's got the same 3000 nits of brightness, the same 1 to 120 Hz refresh rate, the same touch responsiveness, the same cover glass. It doesn't feel tacked on. And the fact that Xiaomi has heroically pre-applied a screen protector to not just the front screen, but also the back screen has meant that I have not once worried about putting it down on a surface like this. But as beautiful as it may be, no one's catching up with the latest Mr. Who's the Boss videos on the 3 inches between the cameras. So what can you do with this that you would actually want to do with this? And this bar over here can summarize how convinced or unconvinced I am by the thing as we go. So level 1, I guess, is personalization. Xiaomi were telling me that a big part of the appeal of this phone will be the ability to express yourself like never before. And I wasn't ready for how hard they went with this. So you've got a whole load of different clock faces, and this is already pretty cool. You've got really intricate mechanical ones, you've got simple ones that you can recolor yourselves, and then even this one with a step counter built in. So pretty similar to a smartwatch homepage. And speaking of smartwatches, this stretch face feels like it is literally taken straight from Apple's source code. You've got pets that kind of interact as you touch them. Decorate with a spunky little sheep. Pretty sure that ain't a sheep, pal. But these are also really high res and surprisingly not that tacky. Like one of them is this really awesome butterfly carp that can actually swim behind, in front of, and even through the current time. And then if you don't like any of those, you can build your own. You can choose whether you want a clock or just text. You can write whatever text you want and change the color, the font size, the thickness. But then with the background, it's not just a pre-selected gallery, you can also